Well, there's been a strong focus on the LNG supply reduction from US projects so far in 2020. Outside of the United States, there have been several cases where producers have been turning down supply as well. Now, we'll be using our liquefaction utilization tracker dashboard and LNG analytics to help tell the story today. We've displayed every major producer's recent utilization trends here. The bars are loaded volumes, or the sum of cargoes produced, and the lines are monthly capacity. Now, the US turndown has been driven by market fundamentals, and we can see that most projects have drastically reduced production. Cheniere's Sabine Pass LNG and also their Corpus Christi project have seen sharp reductions in recent months. Freeport Lng is now in the process of loading its first cargo since the end of June. And also the Elba Island terminal has also not produced a cargo in several months, but this is just a small scale facility. Now, if we look at some of the other US projects, Cove Point Lng in particular, only a little bit of a supply reduction there in recent months. That could be due to the inability to flex down multiple trains. But Cameron LNG has actually been producing surprisingly strong during this time frame, given how low prices have been in the global LNG market. However, this is partly due to the commissioning activity at Train 3 that's currently going on at Cameron that requires steady production. Other producers around the world have also indicated difficult conditions are largely driving their decision to hold back volumes. And let me come down here to take a look at the Egyptian LNG project and how that's been producing. Even prior to the COVID pandemic, Egypt indicated that it would need at least $5 per MMBTU to justify exports, and it had begun lowering output since January, and it hasn't even produced a cargo since March. Elsewhere in Malaysia, Petronas, the NOC of Malaysia, has lowered production in recent months from their MLNG facility, and in particular has indicated it's going to avoid producing cargoes exclusively for spot sales. The most recent deliveries from MLNG have been to its term customers in Japan, mainland China, and Taiwan. Now, buyers from cold bed methane to LNG projects in Australia have exercised their DQT, or their downward quantity tolerance terms, giving producers no other choice than to slow production. And GLNG is a good example of this, where we've seen a supply reduction since June and also coming into July. Apart from these commercial market drivers that we've talked about, maintenance cycles are an important feature of supply this year. Several projects have performed scheduled maintenance, and this is largely because many projects started up 3 to 4 years ago that are now due for servicing. In Australia, APLNG, Gorgon LNG as well, have been undergoing maintenance. Now, we've been hearing recent news about Gorgon undergoing potentially more serious issues, given that regulators are inspecting some of the heat exchangers associated with the trains. Prelude has also had mechanical problems, but poor market conditions are allowing Shell to take its time bringing the project back on stream. Now, if we go down to the Atlantic Basin, Jamal LNG has been under maintenance for a couple of months. We can see from this utilization chart that typically the facility produced well above capacity, so it's noticeable that in recent months, the month-over-month decreases since April in particular are quite material to the project. Snøhvit as well in Norway has also been undergoing maintenance. And in the Pacific Basin, Sakhalin LNG has been undergoing maintenance since the beginning of June. While the second quarter of each year is always a convenient time to do maintenance since it's a non-peak demand period for most of the major consuming markets, it appears this year maintenance has been pushed back a bit later into this quarter and also extended longer than anticipated due to the COVID-19 pandemic. As we head towards the end of the summer and into the winter in the Northern Hemisphere, we'll be keeping an eye on these production trends. The market is currently in contango for the next several months, so LNG marketers could be tempted to test floating storage again, calling on more cargoes from global producers.